My brother called me a loser while sitting on my couch, eating my food, watching my TV, in the $600,000 house I bought, rent-free, for him and his girlfriend. That moment changed everything. I'm in my early 30s. I've worked hard since college, saved every dollar I could, and finally bought my own house. It wasn't easy, but I did it. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I just wanted a place of my own. A safe place. A quiet home. Then my younger brother asked me for help. He and his girlfriend had lost their apartment. No job, no money, no plan. I felt bad for him. He's family. So I told them they could stay at my place for a little while. Maybe a month. Just until they figured things out. 6 months later, they were still there. They didn't look for jobs. They didn't help around the house. They slept in, watched shows all day, made a mess, and invited their friends over without asking. His girlfriend smoked inside, which I told them not to do. They used up the food in my fridge, ran up my bills, and never offered to pay for anything. I started feeling like a guest in my own house. I'd come home after long shifts to find dirty dishes, loud music, and people I didn't even know in my living room. I asked them to clean up, maybe start helping out. They brushed it off like I was being uptight. I didn't push it. I wanted to keep the peace. Then one evening, I got home early. I walked in and heard them laughing in the living room. I stopped when I heard my name. My brother said, "My brother is such a loser. He works like a dog, and we just chill here for free. He's too soft to do anything about it." His girlfriend laughed and said, "Yeah, he's kind of pathetic." They both laughed again. I didn't walk in. I just stood there, out of sight, listening. My brother was relaxed, lying back on the couch I paid for, eating snacks I bought, talking about me like I was a joke. Like I was weak. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked back outside. I sat in my car for a while, staring at the dashboard. I wasn't shocked. Part of me had seen this coming, but hearing it out loud was different. It hit harder. Right then I made a decision. Okay, you think I'm a loser? You'll see who the real one is. We didn't grow up in a perfect home. My brother and I were close in age, but that's where the closeness stopped. He was always the favorite, especially with our parents. He could mess up again and again, and they would still find a way to excuse it. If he got into trouble, they'd cover for him. If he failed at something, they'd say it wasn't his fault. If I did well, it made him angry. If I got praise, he'd sulk or make jokes to bring me down. I wasn't perfect, but I tried to stay out of trouble. I did my schoolwork, kept quiet, and helped out when I could. I didn't ask for much. I knew early on that if something went wrong, it would be blamed on me. If my brother broke something, somehow it was my fault for stressing him out. If he got caught lying, it was because I pressured him by being too good. That's how it always went. As we got older, the gap grew wider. He dropped out of college after one semester. He said it was boring and blamed the teachers. Then he started jumping between jobs, never sticking with anything. Every time he messed up, he had a story ready. It was always someone else's fault. And somehow people believed him, especially our parents. I moved away and kept my head down. I got a degree, landed a good job in tech, and started saving. I didn't brag or show off. I just wanted to build something for myself. I didn't talk much about what I was doing because I knew it would cause tension. My brother always took my success as a personal attack. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad. I just didn't want to end up like him. After a few years of working hard, I was finally able to buy a house. It felt like a big step. I was proud, not because it was fancy, but because I'd done it on my own. No handouts. No shortcuts. Just hard work. Not long after I moved in, my brother called. He sounded down, said he and his girlfriend had nowhere to go. They'd lost their apartment, he said. He needed a place to crash for a bit, just until he got things sorted. He promised it wouldn't be for long. I thought about everything from our past. I knew what he was like, but I also remembered how our parents always said family comes first. I believed that too, even if it hadn't always worked in my favor. I didn't want to turn my back on him, so I said yes. I told him they could stay for a little while, just until they found their footing. I didn't ask for money. I didn't set rules. I thought being kind would help things go smoothly. Now looking back, I see I was wrong. It wasn't just about helping. Deep down, I wanted things to be different. I wanted to believe my brother would appreciate the chance, that he would respect my home, that he would try. But it's clear now, I wasn't helping family. I was just giving him another excuse not to change. At first, I tried to be patient. I kept telling myself they just needed time. Maybe a couple of weeks, and they would get serious about fixing their situation. But every day it got worse. They acted like the house was theirs. They stayed up all night watching TV, laughing loudly, and playing music. I had to wake up early for work, but they didn't care. Their friends started coming over almost every day. Sometimes I didn't even know who was in my house. People would show up, stay late, and leave a mess behind. His girlfriend smoked in the living room. I told her not to. She said, "It's not a big deal, relax." The smell got into the furniture, the curtains, everything. I opened windows, lit candles, tried to get rid of it, but nothing helped. My house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt dirty and loud and full of people who didn't care about me or my space. Dishes piled up in the sink. Trash overflowed. Food disappeared fast. I'd buy groceries, and the next day half of it was gone. They never said thank you. Never offered to replace anything. If I asked where the food went, they just laughed and said, "We were hungry." Sometimes they asked me for money. Small amounts, 20 here, 40 there. "Just until next week," they'd say. But next week never came. They never paid anything back. I stopped giving, but then they started helping themselves. I noticed some cash missing from a drawer once. I couldn't prove it, so I didn't say anything. But I knew. They didn't pay for anything. Not rent, not food, not even toilet paper. The electric bill went up. So did the water bill. When I asked them to use less, they said I was being cheap. I showed them the bills. They didn't care. They laughed it off like it was a joke. I tried to talk to my brother a few times. I told him the house was getting out of control. I said I needed peace and quiet after work. I asked him to stop bringing people over so often. I said the smoking had to stop. He just nodded and changed the subject. Or he'd say, "We'll do better," and then nothing changed. Sometimes he rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. His girlfriend would give me attitude. If I said anything, she'd act like I was being rude. Once she said, "If you didn't want us here, you should have said no." I didn't answer. I didn't want to fight. I started coming home later. I'd sit in my car after work, not wanting to go inside. The place I had worked so hard for didn't feel like home anymore. I felt like a guest. No one respected me. No one listened. They were taking up space, using my things, and treating me like I was the one intruding. I slept in my own room with the door locked. I kept my wallet and phone close. I couldn't relax in my own house. It hurt, not just because of the mess or the noise, but because it was my brother. I had trusted him. I had tried to help. I thought he would understand what this meant to me. But every day it became clearer. He didn't care. He never did. He was using me. And I was letting him. One evening after work, I came home and noticed something was off. My room door was slightly open. I always keep it closed, sometimes even locked. I walked in and saw the space where my gaming PC should have been. It was gone. I looked around the house, checked the living room, the kitchen, nothing. My stomach dropped. I asked my brother if he had seen it. At first, he acted confused. Then he said, "Oh yeah, I was going to tell you. I took it to a friend's shop. Thought I could get some cash for it." I stared at him in disbelief. "You tried to sell my PC?" He shrugged and said, "Relax. You weren't even using it. You have money. You can buy another one." I couldn't believe it. I had saved for months to buy that setup. It wasn't just about the money. It was mine. He had no right to touch it. My voice rose. I asked him who gave him permission. He rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting. That's when we started yelling. I told him he had no respect. I told him I was done with the lies and excuses. He fired back, saying I was selfish, that I acted like I was better than him because I had a job. His girlfriend walked in and joined the argument. She looked at me with a smirk and said, "You'd be nothing without your job. You think that makes you special?" I couldn't take it anymore. I told them to get out. I didn't care where they went. I was done. I said they had 1 hour to pack their things and leave. My brother got in my face. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. His fists were clenched. His voice shook with anger. But I didn't back down. I stood firm and told him again, "Get out." They stormed into their room and started packing, slamming doors, throwing things around. I sat on the couch, trying to calm down. My heart was racing. My hands were shaking. But deep inside, I felt something else, relief. For the first time in months, I felt like I had taken control. They left that night, bags in hand. My brother didn't say a word as he walked past me. His girlfriend gave me one last dirty look. Then the door closed behind them. I thought it was over. I thought I could finally breathe again. I cleaned the house the next day, threw out the trash, opened the windows, and tried to get the smell of smoke out of the air. I sat at the kitchen table and felt a little bit of peace. Just silence. No shouting, no mess. But that peace didn't last, because the very next day they came back. The day after they left, I felt like I could finally relax. I cleaned the whole house, threw out all their junk, and opened the windows. The air felt lighter. I thought I had my home back, but the peace didn't last long. The next afternoon, I heard the front door open. I walked out of my room and saw my brother standing there like nothing had happened. He had his bag with him and went straight to the guest room. I stood there in shock and asked, "What are you doing here?" He looked at me calmly and said, "I live here." I told him, "No, you don't. I told you to leave." He smiled and pulled out a few pieces of mail from his backpack. "My name's on these. This is my address now. You can't just kick me out." I didn't know what to say. I felt sick. I called the police, thinking they'd help. When the officers arrived, I explained everything. How he was supposed to be a guest, how he didn't pay rent, how I had told him to leave. They asked him a few questions, then turned back to me and said there was nothing they could do. They explained that because he had been living there for several months, and because he had mail with his name on it delivered to my address, he might be considered a tenant under the law. And tenants can't just be kicked out without going through a legal process. I was stunned. I told them he never paid rent, never signed anything, never had permission to stay long-term. But it didn't matter. The officer said, "You'll need to go through eviction court. We can't remove him without a court order." My brother stood there listening, acting like he was the victim. When the police left, he walked into the kitchen, poured himself a drink, and said, "Told you. You're not the boss of me." I went into my room, closed the door, and sat on my bed. I felt defeated. I had tried to do the right thing, and now I was stuck. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept going in circles. How did this happen? How did I let it get this far? The next day, I started looking things up. I searched for laws about tenants and eviction. I read forums, articles, anything I could find. I even joined a few online groups where people talked about dealing with squatters and freeloaders. Some stories were worse than mine, but it didn't make me feel better. I started keeping notes. Dates, what was said, what was done. I took pictures of the mess he made. I saved texts and screenshots. If I had to fight this legally, I needed proof. I also called a lawyer for advice. She explained the steps I'd have to take, how long it might take, and what I could expect. It wouldn't be fast. It wouldn't be easy, but it could be done. I didn't tell my brother what I was planning. I acted like I had given up. I kept quiet, but inside something had changed. He thought he won. He had no idea I had just started. After learning I couldn't just kick him out, I knew I had to think carefully. Arguing wasn't going to work. Calling the police didn't help. Nothing I said or did seemed to matter. So I changed my plan. I started acting like I was okay with everything. I told my brother I overreacted and wanted to make peace. I said we were family and maybe we just needed to give it more time. He believed me. He smiled like he had won. He relaxed again, thinking I had given up. His girlfriend came back too. They went back to their usual routine, being loud, making a mess, inviting friends over. But now I didn't say anything. I nodded, smiled, and stayed quiet. I let them think they had full control. While they sat on the couch watching shows, I was planning. I began to take pictures of the damage around the house. Burn marks on the table from her cigarettes. Trash left in the kitchen. Holes in the walls. I took notes of what they did each day. If they yelled at me or said something cruel, I wrote it down. I saved every text message where they asked for money or admitted they didn't plan to leave. I also started recording small videos. Just short clips of the noise, the mess, or their friends sleeping on the floor. I backed up everything on a hard drive and in the cloud. I wanted proof, real proof, that they were not just unwanted guests, but causing damage and stress. Every night I wrote in a notebook, dates, times, what happened. I kept it hidden in my room. It became part of my routine. I would smile during the day and prepare at night. I even printed copies of emails and bills to show how much extra I had to pay because of them. At work, I spoke to a lawyer again and gave her everything I had gathered. She said I was doing the right thing. I needed to stay calm, stay quiet, and follow the legal steps. She told me when to file the official paper and how to serve the notice properly. I marked the date on my calendar. I knew when it would all begin, the day I'd start the eviction process. I didn't tell anyone, not even close friends. I wanted no mistakes, no warnings, no early signs that something was coming. I planned everything. I knew which photos I'd use, which messages I'd print, and when I would hand over the files. I even bought a small camera to catch anything else that might happen. I made sure the camera had a sign nearby, so it was legal. Each day that passed, I stayed friendly on the outside. But inside, I was getting stronger. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't angry. I was focused. They thought I was weak. They thought I had given up. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. The day finally came. I had everything ready. I met with my lawyer in the morning and signed the eviction paper. She explained the next steps and told me to stay calm, no matter how my brother reacted. I nodded. I was ready. That afternoon, I handed my brother the notice. He looked at it, confused at first. Then his face changed. He started yelling, asking what this was. I told him, "It's a formal eviction. You have 30 days to leave." He exploded. He shouted that I was a traitor, that I had stabbed him in the back. He said I was selfish and cruel, and that I cared more about money than about family. His voice was shaking with rage. His girlfriend stood behind him, glaring at me like I was the villain. I stayed quiet. I didn't argue. I just said, "It's legal now. You need to go." He tore up the paper in front of me. He said he wasn't going anywhere, that I couldn't force him. But he was wrong. The law was on my side now. After that, I went to my room and opened my laptop. I uploaded a few short videos online. Just clips. Nothing fake, nothing edited. just real things that had happened in my house. My brother going through my drawers, his girlfriend smoking something that wasn't tobacco, the kitchen covered in trash, loud music at 2 a.m., strangers sleeping on my floor. I didn't post them from my main account. I made a throwaway one. The captions were simple. My brother called me a loser while squatting in the house I bought. Here's what he did while living rent-free. The videos started getting views, then comments, then shares. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. Some were angry on my behalf. Others were shocked by how shameless they were. The clips spread fast. Reddit, TikTok, even YouTube. It didn't take long before people were talking about it like it was a TV show. My brother found out a few days later. He was furious. He screamed at me, demanding I take everything down. I told him. I posted the truth. That's all. He called me every name he could think of, said I ruined his life. His girlfriend looked scared for the first time. Maybe she finally realized things weren't going their way anymore. A few days after that, I got the final notice from the court. A date was set. If they didn't leave by then, the sheriff would make them. They packed quickly after that. No more yelling. No more attitude. They left most of the mess behind, but they were gone. Just like that. I stood at the door after they left, looking at the empty hallway. For the first time in months, it was quiet. No smoke. No noise. No strangers. Just me and my house. I cleaned again. Threw out what they left. Opened all the windows. It felt like I could finally breathe. They thought I'd stay silent. They thought they could use me forever. But in the end, they were the ones exposed. And I was free. I thought it was finally over. The house was quiet, and I had my space back. But a week later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer, my brother's lawyer. He was trying to sue me. He said I caused him emotional stress. He also claimed that since he lived in the house for so long, he had a right to part of it. I read the letter twice because I couldn't believe it. He had lived here for free, made my life hard, and now he wanted to take something from me? I called my lawyer right away and showed her the letter. She wasn't surprised. She said some people try this when they feel cornered. I asked her if we could fight back. She said yes, and we began preparing. What my brother didn't know was that I had been ready for something like months ago, when things started going bad. I put up a few small cameras inside the house. Nothing hidden. Each one had a sign near it that said recording was in progress. I did it to protect myself, and it turned out to be the smartest thing I had done. The cameras caught everything. Not just the mess, but the things he said, the way he treated me, and how his girlfriend acted in the house. One clip even showed him laughing and saying he could do whatever he wanted because I was too soft to stop him. I also had saved texts where he admitted to using me. One message said, "He's stupid enough to let us stay. Why not take advantage?" Another said, "He'll never do anything, just keep being nice." When we went to court, my brother showed up in a suit, acting sad. He told the judge that I kicked him out for no reason, that I hurt his feelings and made him feel unsafe. He said I ruined his life and tried to destroy his future. Then it was my turn. My lawyer showed the judge the camera footage, the screenshots, and the text. She explained that I followed every rule, gave proper notice, and had signs clearly posted about the cameras. She showed proof that I had been calm and respectful while he was the one causing problems. My brother's face changed while the videos played. He looked around the room, nervous. He wasn't smiling anymore. His lawyer tried to stop the videos, but the judge allowed them. The truth was right there on the screen. After the hearing, the judge made a decision. The case was thrown out. My brother wouldn't get a single cent. The judge even said I had been more patient than most people would have been. I felt relief wash over me. A few days later, I heard from someone that his girlfriend had left him. She moved out, blocked his number, and wanted nothing to do with him. Maybe she saw the court video. Maybe she realized he wasn't worth it. Either way, he was alone. He had lost his place to live, his girlfriend, and any chance to hurt me again. I walked out of that courtroom feeling calm. He had tried to burn me, but he was the one who got burned. After the court case ended, I finally had peace. My brother was gone, and he couldn't come back. The house was mine again, and I didn't have to look over my shoulder anymore. It was time to start fresh. The first thing I did was clean every room, top to bottom. I threw out everything they had left behind: clothes, old food, broken stuff. I didn't keep a single thing that reminded me of them. I repainted the walls, fixed the damage, and changed the locks. I even bought new furniture and rearranged everything. Slowly, the house started to feel like home again. It took a few weeks, but the place looked better than ever. The smoke smell was gone. The trash was gone. The noise was gone. All that was left was peace and quiet. For the first time in a long time, I could sit on my own couch and relax. I started enjoying my time again. I invited a few close friends over and cooked dinner. We laughed, listened to music, and just talked. It felt good to have people in the house who respected it. And me. Later, I hosted a small party. Nothing big, just food, music, and good people. Everyone said the house looked amazing. I smiled and said thank you, but deep down I felt proud. I had taken back my space. I also started going out more. I met someone through mutual friends, and we went on a few dates. It was nice. No drama, no stress. Just simple and easy. Being around someone who listened and cared made me realize how much I had been missing that. I was finally moving forward. One night, while scrolling online, I opened Reddit. I had read so many stories from others going through similar problems. Some made me feel less alone. Some made me laugh. I decided to post my own story, using a throwaway account. The title was simple. My brother called me a loser while squatting with his girlfriend in the house I bought. Then I told everything. From the day he moved in, to the fights, to the videos, to the court win. I kept it honest and real. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few comments. But when I checked the next day, the post had exploded. Thousands of people had read it. Hundreds of comments poured in. People called me smart, patient, and strong. Some said they had gone through the same thing. Others just cheered me on. The top comment said, "You're the hero, not a loser. You won." I smiled when I read that. It felt good to be seen. I didn't post anything else. I didn't reply to most of the comments. I just read them quietly and let it sink in. I wasn't alone. And I wasn't a loser. I had taken my life back, piece by piece. My house was clean, my mind was calm, and my future was open. I had gone through something hard, but I came out stronger. And now I could finally breathe. A full year passed. Life was simple and quiet again. I worked, spent time with friends, and enjoyed the home I had fixed up. There was no shouting, no mess, no stress. Every room felt like mine. Every corner was peaceful. I could sleep well. I could think clearly. I stopped wondering what my brother was doing. I didn't check his social media. I didn't ask around. As far as I was concerned, he was out of my life for good. I had no interest in opening that door again. One evening, I was sitting on the couch watching a movie. My phone buzzed. It was a message from a number I hadn't seen in a while. It was my brother. He had only written a short line. "Can I crash for a bit?" I stared at the message for a moment. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sorry. I felt nothing. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. No reason to go backward. No reason to make the same mistake again. I had already learned my lesson. I turned my phone face down on the table, pressed play on the movie, and went back to enjoying my evening. I might be a loser, but at least I'm not homeless. If you've ever been used by someone you trusted, share this story. Her brother saw kindness as weakness and family as a free ride. But she stood tall. Quiet strength won. Like, comment, and follow for more true stories that empower. The best lessons and gifts come from rising above betrayal.